This is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we're going to season a Bradley 4-shelf smoker. We're going to also take a quick look at it so we can see exactly what we have here. This is a regular analog model. They make digital models with Bluetooth connectivity, and I hate Bluetooth connectivity, but it is available and you can run it from your phone. I want to show you here we have 4 of these basket type shelves. If this is something that bothers you, you can easily replace them. Something else that my friend told me is that we can do it like this. I'm going to link some articles below, and those articles were made with use of my friend's smoker, and I just got this one gently used, so the person who bought it upgraded to a larger smoker because they figured out right off the bat that this wasn't going to be large enough for what they wanted. You can take these and turn these over and use the tops of the shelves if you wanted to, if you don't like the basket. And that ends up level or just slightly above level with the edge here. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over. And I'm going to remove the bottom one just for what we're doing here. This here is a drip pan, and everything will fall down and drip down the center, which will make it land right in the ash pan. We also have a larger drip pan here, which will catch all the other drips. Now, if you know me very well, you know I'm not a fan of cleaning anything. So what I would do is I would fill this like 3/4 of the way with foil, so that way you would have an edge around there, and then just kind of make a little tray to fit on the inside here and allow plenty of airflow still. So I'll go ahead and set that back in there. Now, I'm not sure. Let's see if we can remove this without any hassle. Sometimes these things can be a bit of a challenge to move. It's kind of, I don't want to take a chance of bending it. Right here is the inflow for the biscuits, and this is where it heats them and causes the smoke. It will feed the biscuits in here and they'll smoke, and when they're done, they'll drop off, and what's left will be discarded as ash right here. We're going to season this, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cover that device with some foil. This is just a temporary thing, so don't leave the foil in there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take some canola oil. This is just a generic canola oil. You can also use peanut oil, works really well, unless you have peanut allergies. And then you can use some other things, but I just use canola or vegetable oil, and you could just use regular PAM, which is the same thing. So I'm going to spray all the walls lightly. And then the side, and then the door, and I'm going to spray the top twice. The idea is that when I start using this smoker, the only thing I'm really going to clean is the top and the trays on the bottom. Unless there's something wrong with the inside, like if I catch on fire or something, I will never clean the inside. It will take that season, it'll hold it. Now, this smoker was used twice, and you can see that there's a little bit of smoke on there, but it didn't look like it was seasoned the way I wanted it to be. So we can do this right here, and we can get it caught up. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. You can see that there's oil on this, but there's no oil on the burner, which is what we're going for. When seasoning any electric smoker, you want to keep all the oil off of the heating element. And the same thing when you're doing like a propane or whatever. But with the propane, if you just light it on low, it'll burn any of it off. But on the electric, it will burn a lot and smoke in a bad way. So we're just going to discard this, or we could just set it in here. And if we had one piece of meat, that would actually catch a lot of the drips and prevent it from being a problem. So I've already taken the liberty of plugging it in. It has a standard cord like you'd find on any other device that would plug into like a computer or something like that. It would be a heavy duty one because we're talking about heating. We're not talking about just some light duty thing like a laptop charger or anything. So I go ahead and turn it on. Then what I need to do is I need to turn this on until it clicks. And it'll automatically start by advancing one biscuit. Now, I'm going to go ahead and push the button to advance another. And since I already had one queued up, we are in the position to go. Now, each one of these biscuits will last you about 20 minutes. What we have here is just pressed wood, and it's pressed into this nice little thing. It looks like a little biscuit. And then you fill this up with however many of them you want to go. So let's say you want to smoke for 2 hours, which is the normal recommended. You would put in 6 of these. And then you would put in 2 spacers. Now, the spacers are an additional purchase. So if you don't want to do that, you can either do this, or something that I did before was I cut a piece of wood with my hole saw that was almost exactly the same size. Make sure it's not bigger, because then it won't go through. If it's just a touch smaller, it should work without having any problem. That's what I did. So I'm going to put in one more of these because I want to make sure that we get enough smoke for the seasoning here. I've set it on medium, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it up to high. Now on the top, we have a vent, and it just closes right up and opens. Now, I am a big fan of leaving your vent open maximum unless there's some particular reason. So I think that the clean smoke is a good thing, and if you close the vent, your smoke kind of gets stagnant in there, and I want it to move as best as possible. So I can see that a little bit of smoke is coming off of there right now, so it's just starting to get heated up. We're just going to let it keep going. If I was going to use water pan in this, what I would do is I would put it all the way to the back in here. So my normal water pan is just a brownie sheet. So it's a piece of disposable aluminum foil that I buy at the dollar store, and then I put it in there, and I will push it in about 2/3 of the way so it's just barely sticking out. And then I will pour hot water in there, preferably boiling, but my hot water is really hot in my house, so I can usually use that, and it's hot enough to work. But what we don't want is we don't want it to drop the temperature in the smoker. So we want hot water to be introduced in there so that way it's steaming right away. Again though, with most electric smokers, you want to err on less water rather than more. I'm going to go ahead and shut this, and we're going to take a break for a minute, and we'll come back after it gets warmed up. Let's go back over my notes really quick because I want to make sure that you're fully aware of what we have here. Now, I call this type of smoker a college refrigerator smoker, just the same as any of these other square box verticals like the Masterbuilt that we have in the back of the picture here. This smoker box is 4 racks with 572 inches of cooking capacity, and the height is 31 inches by 17 inches wide, and the depth is 14 inches. When you go to buy biscuits, they usually come in a box like this, and this box has a bunch of packages in it like that look like a package of cookies. That's kind of what I think of when I think of them anyway. And they have different flavors and different mixes of them, but this is just your standard apple one here, and there's 120 in there, and I think I said that earlier, but 120 allows for 20 cooks of 2 hours. And then of course if you add the biscuit savers, you can put 2 of those on the top and it'll eject them without having to run them through there and worry about how you're going to unload them. I like to make sure that they get unloaded, especially because we live next to the creek. That's always a big issue, is humidity. So we're going along really good now, and you can see the smoke coming out, and it smells pretty decent. Smells a little hot and a little fresh. I think it definitely needs to have more time to season and cure a little bit. You can see that the smoke is just barreling out of there. We're going to go ahead and close that back up. Current heat, it hasn't come to full temperature yet, is 150 degrees. We're just going to turn that all the way to the top to make sure that we get the top temperature out of it, and that will make the curing good. Right now, that smoke coming up, sticking to that oil at 150 degrees is perfect, because it will get up on that oil and then the oil will slowly heat and not burn. So we're just going to let this go ahead and go, and then we'll come back to take a look at it when it's all done. We're getting just about to the end of the smoking phase here for what I loaded. The stack here is empty, so the last one is pushed out. And this is where, if you put in some of those dummies, they would just push it through and you'd be able to use all of them. I'm going to go ahead and first let's talk about the vent. So I took a couple of pictures here so you can see the vent in the picture. And then I went ahead and took a piece of 4-inch duct tubing and set it on the top. And you can see that picture that the 4-inch is just slightly bigger than the vent adjuster. And if you did this right, you could cut a little notch in the edge and you could still use the adjuster and attach it. I'm not going to attach it today because I think that it's that if I go to sell this, that I think that putting a couple of holes in it might deter. There is insulation in here and some wiring, so you do want to be careful where you put holes. The reason that I like adding a little pipe is because it directs the smoke away from you. I'm going to show you a picture here of my Masterbuilt. Now this is the last generation, and on that generation the vent is on the side instead of on the top, but the current generation is exactly like this with the vent on the top, except you have to reach in to adjust it, so this little tab doesn't exist on there. So you wouldn't want to overthink that. You'd want something that you could just pick up and move, and that's one of the things I like about this. Another thing is you can see this one's offset. If you have an offset or have a 90 degree at the top, then you don't have to worry about rain pouring back down in there in case you don't have a well-covered place. But I recommend that you cover all electric smokers. And a cover can be as simple as a portable top like what I have out here that I work in, or it could be a piece of plywood laying across the top of it just to keep the thing from getting soaked and getting the electric components wet. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open this while it's still going. It is a little warm around the edges. And look at that smoke just pile on out of there. I can see the last puck that's going to burn is in position right now, and it's just about done. The next puck, slightly burnt around the edges, so that's the downside of using a puck to advance the next puck. I have my insulation glove here. Let's try this away before. And I'm going to show you the temperature reading here. It was running solid just above 300, which is really good for one of these units because my buddy's, he can barely keep it above 270, and you need 275 if you're going to cook a lot of food like some of the briskets. I'm just going to show you, this is what's left from the puck. There's hardly anything there from each one, just almost completely gone. And you can see the smoke is still pouring out of there. Down there, and I'm looking in here and I can see that the element, the heating element, is glowing red, which means that it's working great. I'm going to go ahead and shut it now, but what I was going for is this film of smoke attached to the oil. Now when I'm done, I'll probably just wipe down the top just a little bit and that'll be great. But we're done with this video for the day. So there is 2 articles down below. You're going to see one article for the review of this, which is, I just edited it with some of the new updated information here. And for this one specifically, but that review article is based off of my buddy's digital one. And then below that, you'll see an article on how to make jerky. And that is my buddy's recipe. And the jerky is absolutely great. I want to point out that when you're cutting your jerky for your to make your jerky, if you want to have a long, more I would say fibrous, but solid piece of jerky, you cut slightly along the grain, but if you want it to break up easier, you cut across the grain. So if you cut across the grain, you'll get smaller pieces that when you bite into it will tear off real easy. It's just like when you're cutting your steak or slicing skirt steak, or even with the brisket. You slice across it and it'll come apart easier. If you slice the long way, it's going to be chewier. And some people I know like chewy jerky. So that's up to you. Those two articles will be below. Below that will be the affiliate links, which will include the affiliate link for this and some of the things that I use, like the instant read thermometer and some grill mats. And don't forget, always put smoked paprika on your food. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.